Yeah, Sea Salt Sanji. I know it's been a while, and I've been hesitant on making this video because it's been so long. Quite frankly, I didn't even know where to begin. Um, been a lot of things happening, but a lot of things have stayed the same. A few members of my family have had health problems, and you know, I've stayed away from work. Um, Not just this, but it's taken a back seat. Because I don't know how much longer I have uh, with my family member that has a terminal illness. I won't go into, you know, details about it, but it makes you think. Uh, Life's short, people. You know, if you got goals, you got ambitions. Do it. You're not promised tomorrow. Uh, it's like when I started this channel. I just wanted to see if I could do it, see what it took to do it, and I been busy. I always stay busy, even when I'm not busy. Even when I'm not working, I still find a way to stay busy. It's just my nature. I always find something to do, and I've been writing a story, believe it or not. Um, it just seems like everything that I've been reading, recently, movies, etc. A lot of the media is just crappy. It has no plot. It's not character driven. You don't know what their ambitions are, the main characters, what their ambitions are, or anything. And I was complaining about these things to another person that I was working with, and they said, "You know what? If you could think you could do better, write it yourself." And I said, "You know what? I think I will." And had a few ideas still cooking around in my head for a while, concepts, things I wanted to write about. And one thing led to another. Uh, it's about the longest thing I've ever written. It's about a little over 70,000 words. Uh, it's hard science fiction. I wanted to be logical to some degree, but yeah, and I wanted to have fun with it. And I wanted to express some thoughts that I had over the years. Um, some of it's based off my life. Some of it's based off the things I've seen, tropes, science fiction, anime, everything else. Um, some things aren't, deliberately stated, but they're there in subtext. I just wanted to write it, and one thing led to another, and here I am. I'm in the editorial phase right now, to the editor, and I started writing on the second one. So there we go. But some things changed, and some things haven't changed. I've been still growing stuff. Uh, I got a whole bunch of jalapeno peppers. Can't eat the things half fast enough. I got a freezer full of corn and green beans and tomatoes, all kinds of stuff, squash. Had to preserve it some way because you can't eat it all at one time. Still got tomatoes and peppers coming in, and it's in September, so it's still growing. I got plants growing I didn't even plant. Um, that's still going strong. I'm still watching and reading One Piece. Don't think that I stopped or didn't like it anymore. Um, it's kind of crazy how close I was to the Gear 5, awakening. I was off on one little tidbit. It was freedom instead of, wanting to protect his Nakama, which I guess he still does in a way, but it was freedom. That's what was his desire. And another thing, too, if you look back at Katakuri's awakening, to further elaborate on him being vain, his fight took place in the mirror world. What you do when you look in the mirror, you see yourself. You're always, looking at yourself. He's vain. He's conceited. That just drives that point on home. Um, I, and also, too, if you go back to my previous videos, I explained about rubber vulcanization, how rubber's white in its natural form. It's not black like a lot of people think like tires are. Um, and with the Gear 5 Awakening, he turns white. So uh, it just I was close in a way on a lot of things, uh, but it just hits home like every anime. The main character gets a godlike power, some type of god. God, some god Nika, Naruto. He's the god of shinobi, or somehow an inherit a reincarnation of a god. Goku, he's the gods of destruction. DBZ Super. Or the Saiyan god before that, and they always climax to a level of a god, to the point where they have to either descale, the main protagonist in some way, like with Boruto. They went back to more of the hand-to-hand combat versus all the crazy jujitsus. Because I mean, they'd be destroying worlds if they continued that. Um, so I wanted to play around with this trope in my story about what does it mean to be a god, to have godlike powers. Um, I didn't want to write a Boy Scout type character like Superman. Even with Superman, he gets a godlike power compared to the others. And I wanted to play around with this trope. I wanted to have the creativity to be able to create and have the understanding of a god, to be able to hear a language and be able to understand it immediately. Another thing too, okay, say if you have a god, does it matter what language you pray in? Um, will the god still be able to understand it? Depending on what religion you believe in, do you have to pray to it in your language? Uh, I don't know. If it is a true God, an omniscient God, he would have to understand all languages, and that's one thing I kind of hit on in my story. All these things are not explicitly stated; they're subtextual. I didn't want to spell everything out, but kind of did there. But anyway, it's in the editorial phase right now, and I think it's going to be good. It's going to be a hit. I know the concept is solid. I wanted a nitty gritty character. Took a lot of inspiration from Berserk in a multitude of different ways. Not only the story mechanics of how the story unfolds like Berserk, but like I said, I want a nitty gritty character that bleeds. It's not invulnerable, but still has incredible ability. Uh, Also, too, privately, how it inspired me is his passing of the author, Kentaro. And I thought about it by myself. If I was to take my last breath and not be able to finish this story after I started it, it just it just made me sick to my stomach. I had to finish it. Um, I've never been a good writer in school. I always suck at spelling, but I've found ways around that. I haven't been. I'm not an English major or anything. Not exactly poetic, but I know what makes a good story. I know what captures the heart, what moves people. And even though I've read this story probably 4 times that I wrote it, there's still parts of it that get me excited. There's still parts of it that move me in some way. So I know it'll move an audience who reads it. Some might find it a little sappy. I know you never want to please everybody, no way. But I faced a lot of uphill battle writing this story, a lot of distractions, work, personal, but I never beat myself up about it. Um, I always kept at it. A lot of people think it's some type of race. When you first write a story, I learned you have to undo a lot of the indoctrination from school. You're always, writing underneath the deadline, and you have to get past that. You have to understand this isn't school. You're not. Somebody isn't getting paid to read your stuff. You have to have the stuff out there that somebody would want to pay to read. You're doing something a little different. You're not regurgitating information to write a report. You are coming up with it strictly yourself. There's no works cited in a novel because you are the source of all the information. You're creating your own world. Like I said, you have to undo a lot of indoctrination. Speed isn't, what you need to chase after. You need to chase after quality. And you're not a reader anymore either. No, you want to go through it linearly, from the start, middle, and end. The only start, middle, and an end that you need to worry about is the start, middle, and end of the next sentence. And it don't matter where that sentence goes. You can skip around. You could write the end of it first. Sometimes it's easier to do that because you know where you're heading now. You know how you wanted to end it. I know where I wanted to end my story. I know the scenes. I know, and when I wrote a scene, it's like, okay, what things need to happen between this scene and that scene need to take place. And some of those things that needed to happen didn't always need to happen here between these two. Maybe some of these things need to happen, over here before we even got to the, that point, or wherever they fall into, wherever they made sense. And I just did what I thought made sense and what sounded right for me. And hearing the reader, the immersion reader, there's a lot of programs that would actually read what you wrote back to you. That helped me out a lot. Sometimes if it don't sound right, it isn't right, and you go back and fix it. Another thing too, there's a bunch of crap out there on the internet, YouTube, etc. A lot of it's crap. A lot of it is very generic. A lot of people are going to tell you, read The Save the Cat. There's a few other books out there that will tell you to read. A lot of them are generic. I think they're written by people who write horoscopes because they're so vague in what you need to do. But they fill in so many details, you kind of fill it in for yourself. It's kind of like, a horoscope profile. If you're a Libra, I can give you one for a Scorpion or whatever, and it still sounds like it fits you. Because, it's just so vague, and you want to believe it. You spend all this money on this book, and it's like you want to believe it, because you feel like you don't want to feel duped, But a lot of it's so vague, and they use movie references for books. There's a lot of things you can do in books that you simply cannot do in movies, and vice versa. A lot of things in a visual medium that you can do that you simply cannot do in a book. That one scene in that movie might have taken 10 pages. You got to write, the setting of it, what's going on, what's said, how it's said, by who. It can take up a lot more room in a book versus in a movie in a visual sense. Especially if you skip around, through a timeline. There's a lot of things you can do there, make the past black and white, or you could have, like in Berserk, for example, what happened before what because of the scars on his face, because he's missing an arm. Those things happen, but you don't know how they happen or when they happen. And it's a big deal. You can't do that with a book necessarily. You can, but you can't. It takes a lot more, and you're going to bore the reader to a certain degree. It's just some things like, like gray hair or whatever. It's things you could do to age a person, and like that just by looking at him, that he's older or younger or vice versa. But don't think that I've gave anything up. I'm just changing, I guess. I want to catch up with everybody. Let everybody know, hey, I'm still doing stuff. I'm still out there, still reading One Piece. Haven't, died or anything. I just been busy. Priorities just changed a little bit, but I'm glad I finally got to make a video again, and maybe I might get to making One Piece again. But it is what it is. Peace.